It's Andy with the Coffee with the Geek program again. We are in the afternoon of Monday. We've just seen a really rousing keynote from Jamie Cruset from Google. I hope I pronounced his last name. But with me now is Jon Redeker from Goshen. And Jon is a high school teacher, U.S. history.
U.S. history and government.
Okay, and also the tech coordinator. So he's got a lot of hats to fill. So he has kind of two different perspectives on technology.
Yeah.
Let me start with the history because I'm kind of passionate about history myself. And as a former elementary teacher, I always found my students saying at some point in the year that history is boring or social studies is boring.
Yeah.
How do you, and maybe you don't, but how do you maybe use technology, or what are some ways you can make history more engaging these days in the 21st century?
It's a great question. And I tend to think of it as, I tell the students even, it's a great question to raise your hand and ask. And they're 11th and 12th graders, but I did it when I taught 8th graders too, that if you got to ask, how does this apply? Because what we all care about ourselves is number one. And so I tell them it's an okay question to interrupt and say, like, listen, how does this apply to me? And that's what I want to get to. So everything has a modern significance, a modern spin on it, try to connect it to all sort of current events. So it kind of is boring to like study the Constitution, but you connect all these things going on in society and you have like a really beautiful lesson if you can really manipulate that. But it takes a lot to be current. And so, reading the news and staying up on like even technology components, how to deliver this to them. But it's all about change and being aware of what's going on. So if you're just teaching the same curriculum that you learned in college, to get prepared for teacher training, I don't think that's really an effective way to approach history.
I've always thought with the social studies, it's really, and I liken it to my own learning about social studies, and I didn't always was a fan of social studies, but I finally got it when you started being able to picture it.
Yeah.
And I think, technology has that ability to make social studies visual.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that? And do you use anything in your classroom that can bring that visual component, even if it's just like YouTube videos or?
Right. Well, there's a great YouTube channel, Hip Use History. He's a teacher out of Buffalo.
I've heard that.
Yeah, he's fantastic. So shout out to Hip Use.
All right.
But we also do a lot with the different additions and extensions and stuff. So one of the recent current events projects that I did with the students was to take in Google Sheets, and they have a new add-on in Sheets. It's called Mapping Sheets, and so you can put a geotag or an address or a latitude and longitude or even just a city, and whatever content you put in there, it'll build a Google map out for you. So we treated it like a game board where they had to get articles from different regions of the world, and not just the continents, but the subcontinents and different regions, and then have it mapped out. And that was their game board to compete with each other for who had the most spots on the board, almost like a Risk type game. I'd like to continue that, sort of turn it into a game-based learning where then they can actually compete for land and territories and something. But, that's still under development. So, but the other one that's been kind of fun is I've been doing history memes, which are kind of fun on the internet as well, but to sort of take a content piece and to throw it out there as a meme. And then to summarize these primary documents that can be really difficult, like George Washington's farewell address or Declaration of Independence, and summarize it as a tweet. Really get it down to the core meaning in a really short phrase. So that's been really fun.
That's a neat spin on it, and adds kind of a 21st century spin to it. But it also really crystallizes. I think it helps get clarity to a lot of issues.
Yeah, it drills down the content. Yeah.
So now for your other role, for your other hat as technology coordinator, what are some things you're doing school-wise? You work K-12, right?
K-12, yeah.
So
it's a big
what
job.
are some technologies or projects or I guess long-term goals that you have in that area?
Our school district opened up, well, we've sort of been on this journey since I've been involved about 5 or 6 years, where we started to investigate what the best delivery method was for getting student access. So we have a really robust backbone and a good network at this point, a lot of Wi-Fi access ports and stuff. But we just played around with the idea of doing a one-to-one initiative. We visited a lot of different schools who were doing that about 5 or 6 years ago. And decided that at the time it wasn't right for us. We needed the right leadership in place, we needed the right personnel in place, and just wasn't there yet. So we decided to go with a BYOD plan, and we were one of the first in the county to really pursue that actively and write the plan and get it approved. To limited success, or really not much success. Limited would be a nice way to say it. People don't love it, and the kids weren't bringing their stuff in. And a few do, but primarily now it's just cell phones that are hogging our bandwidth because they're allowed to hop on, and then they're just on, and it's just hogging bandwidth. And so we need to come up with a better solution. So I'm hoping to maybe think about another one-to-one approach, maybe with a Chromebook situation. But we have a great situation where we've grown with vision and leadership. That devices, we used to have more devices than we knew what to do with, and now we have not enough devices because our teachers have risen up to that level. So we provided the materials, we provided the resources, and some of the basics that we didn't even have a responsibility for, like Google Classroom is a game changer because it's so easy. People want training in Google Classroom, but they don't need it. It's just like, go play with it and figure it out. You're not going to break it. It's so easy. So that's a game changer for us. And we don't have necessarily a uniform thread throughout our buildings. And I think I like that. As far as we have the Google apps, we have Androids for little kids, and we have the Chromebooks for older kids. But I like the idea that, at the elementary or really at the K through 5 levels, we have 2 buildings to meet those needs. It's a big smartboard area. They love the hands-on, interactive, the lesson builders. But our older grade levels are using more of the Google apps and really pushing out customization of those things. So really kind of seeing 2 different approaches, but they easily work together because you're talking about fluency and interactivity. It's not one-stop shop for everybody.
So as you look at NiceGate and you see some of the sessions and step into them, take out your crystal ball a little bit. What are some of the trends that you see? What are some of the trends you'd like to see?
It's interesting looking at like the maker movement and all that kind of stuff and the programming. I think programming isn't going away, of course, but what is expected from schools is going to be changing. So on a leadership scale, you're going to have to look and say, wow, these are great things, but do we need to hire an extra staff member to accommodate this? Or do we need to change the way we operate? Do we eliminate wood shop for the sake of coding or something like that? And to me, I don't want to be in a position to make those choices as a leader or as someone who can help direct that conversation. So I hope that we can build into it, but it's in a culture that as we see more opportunity out there, it's easy to think of it as an enrichment program, but we need to start thinking about these things as a global movement in our schools towards investing in this future, whether it's maker stuff or just coding, writing, programming and stuff. But we can't do it with the current people in place in most cases. So even our tech people who are here, our network administrators or our, like curriculum directors and that kind of stuff, we're not necessarily the people to run it. So we need the training, but we also need to then say, okay, we got a little training, but we don't know enough. We need to hire the right people to do these jobs because it is new for a lot of us too. We didn't go through these things. So I'd be curious to see on a leadership scale, not necessarily with the technology that's changing, but how do we adapt our personnel in our schools, and can we convince our school boards to sort of pursue that as a valuable thing? So I wish NICET was here. I wish NICET was here. I wish all these people who helped drive that conversation would be here to see these keynotes and to see all the innovation that's happening.
You work with teachers in your role?
Primarily.
What are some of the baby steps that you take to kind of help teachers make the transition to become more tech fluent?
I mean, my big mantra with teachers is that failure isn't fatal. And I think that we heard that this afternoon about iteration, about keep trying things and working towards it. But what I've seen is that teachers who are either pre-service teachers who are just coming out of college, they don't have the training that they need. Some of the older teachers who feel more confident because they're willing to risk because they've been in experience. So it's kind of funny. You think the young kids out of school are going to have the training and they just don't. So we need to think about it from that perspective. But I spend a lot of time talking to teachers sort of off the ledge of being scared. And a lot of it is just fear. So they just want somebody there. So the fact that I can come in and just be there with them and not even helping, but just to be there is a comforting thing. And so a lot of it is just they need that boost because for the longest time, teachers, one of the only professions that haven't been asked to change. And so whether you're talking about APPR or data-driven instruction or the technology, all this push has been coming the past 5 or 6 years. And so they feel like it's too much change at one time. So you're going to give them one-to-one or BYOD and APPR and Common Core and all these things. And so they're asked to change when meanwhile for 20 years or 30 years, 40 years, they haven't been asked to change. So trying to embrace a change mindset is something that is crucial towards moving forward because we could learn the Smart Notebook 15, but then what happens when it changes or we can't afford it or whatever? It's about learning to be flexible and to grow, just like we want our students to do. But our profession hasn't been willing to, in a lot of instances, to do so.
Okay, well, it's time for the Speed Geek questions, and these are just kind of short answers. I got to take out my iPad, and I've got an app called Decide Now, which you can put any kind of questions in it. So these are just quick, short answers. Take this out. Oh, there we go. So go ahead and click the green button. Your first question is, ooh, this is a good one. World of Warcraft or Angry Birds, or what's your favorite game?
I would say Angry Birds in a pinch, World of Warcraft if I didn't have 2 kids at home who demanded my time.
Well said. Yes, understood. Go ahead. We got 2 more. Oh,
right on the line.
First storage device.
3.5 floppy disks.
Okay,
you know, I like. You ever put them in? See the craft? You build them into a plant holder, glue
No,
them
I haven't
together,
seen
give them
that.
to a tech person. If you have a special person in your life, put some potting soil in it.
Okay,
Put a plant
so
in it.
re-envision
it's
the
great.
floppy disk. Okay,
All right, here
one
we
more.
go.
Let's see what we get with this one. Oh, this one could be tough. Oh,
Ooh.
Favorite tablets.
iPad 2 has been consistently strong for me. I don't upgrade on a lot of tablets, so I would probably go with the iPhone 6 because that's what I currently have. I don't call it a tablet because
Sure.
it works just like one. But I'm thrilled that laptops are going into the tablet world with touchscreens. It's a game changer.
It is. It's exciting stuff.
Yeah.
All right, John. Well, thanks. In case you don't know, John is down here in the social media kiosk. He's willing to get you started on Twitter and
absolutely,
and get you tweeting and get you hashtagging and all that cool stuff. So come on down to the social network.
At Jon Redeker.
Oh, at Jon Redeker.
Jon Redeker.
All right.
Thanks.
Great. Thanks, John.